again, welcome to the TalkBox. You can give us a call in at 615-893-1450 if you want to be a part of the show. But we're talking about today fatherhood. Absolutely. And the lack thereof, or the impact of fatherhood, correct?
Yes.
All right. And so we're going to just dive right in on today. I know that Marcus has been teaching. You do a lot with the children. So what have you seen as far as fatherhood and the children?
Sure. So just to give you a little bit of my background, directly out of college, I became a counselor at a place called Magnolia Academy. Magnolia was a wilderness facility for primarily teen boys, and then it opened up to girls as well. We had like one camp for them. It was so students would camp out year round, unless it was 21 degrees or below. We did not move indoors. So we would work, and that meant that we, the counselors, had to do the same. And then I went from there and I went into education and teaching. I worked in a lot of youth camps and churches, coached gymnastics, boys teams. And so all of that being said, I always tell everybody that there are two people that know how your children really feel about you. Teachers and coaches, and I've been both. So we know how they really feel. And you get to see the impact that a father has, or when a father's not present, that has on a student or a kid, and how they feel. So that's my background, though, and I've seen both sides of it.
Well, and you know, I think when it comes to our children, we're wondering what's going on in the world, and I believe that the lack of a father is really detrimental to our children. And so I tell people all the time too, Marcus, you know, they're like, well, I can't get along with my baby mama. Well, the baby mama don't have anything to do with you raising your child. And I think that that we need to get to the place where we are operating in the functions that God have presented to us or allowed us to be. That's the mother, and being the mother's role, as well as the father being a father.
Right. I had one student, this goes back to mine. I had one student, he wished that his parents didn't get along.
Oh, wow.
Because he realized real quick, his parents were not married when they had him. And she went on and got another man. So he had a stepdad. And then he went on and got another woman. And so he had a stepmom. And whenever he got in trouble, both the mom and the stepmom would be there in the meeting, agreeing with each other. And if he got in trouble at one house, whatever punishment was at this house, went to that house. I had never in my life seen anything like, you talk about functional. And it drove him crazy because he was like, how come my parents just can't not get along like everybody else? And so I can go, to this house and be able to do this, go to this house and do that. He wanted that, and they just would not give it to him.
And play the parents against one another, And that's why, again, if you have love in your heart, just even as a step parent, I was a step parent, and I treated all of my children the same, whether they were birthed from me or the ones that I picked up off the street. And I believe that that's what's missing with our children is a balance. Yes, you need a mother's love, but you need a father's guide.
Right. And sometimes it's like, I've noticed this. It's not sometimes that the father or the mother does not love their child. It's just sometimes their hate for their ex is greater than the love that they have for their child. So they can give you a whole list of things that they do for their child that shows that they love them, and they're correct. But then you look at the list of things that they do against their ex, and it's by far greater. And when that begins to happen, but we used to have something when I remember going through training for juvenile, and they told us, they said, if you see a parent that is not living up to the standard of what a parent should be living up to, they said, first off, find out what that parent's background is, because they may be doing better than what their parents did.
Yeah.
And so even though they're missing the mark, they don't know that they're missing the mark. And so sometimes that happens even with fathers. And you have a lot of men that are like, well, I picked you up.
Right. Right.
I paid my child support. Like, what else do you want? And because they're doing more than what their father did for them, they may not even know who their dad is. And so that makes it very, very, very difficult, because then the child is at school having these expectations of, how come you don't come to my PTO performances, and when are you going to come to my ball games, and when are you going to do this and that and the other. And there's that emotional support that child is looking for as well.
Well, the one thing too is, a lot of times what I've found is fathers, especially the ones who have a bad relationship with their baby mother, but they pay their child support and they think that that's all that's needed. And it's with any relationship. Your relationship with Christ, you got to spend time. Your relationship with your significant other, you got to spend time. You know, and so money is not the fix all, especially when it comes to children, because they need some time and guidance, and need to be seeing you live a fruitful life.
Right. I remember one of my professors, he told us, he said that his father was abused by his dad. His grandfather used to hit him and abuse him physically. He swore he would never be like that. So when he had kids, my professor, he never hugged them, because to him, he didn't want to touch them, because now he was a great provider. He was there at the ball games. He did all of that stuff. But my professor was like, we never got a hug. He's like, we never got a hug. Then when my professor had children, he hugs his kids all the time.
A lot of times we have to find a balance with that thing. But I know too, when it comes to daughters and to girls, I saw a t-shirt over the weekend. It said, a father is the first love of a daughter, but he is the example for the son. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we have to be careful how we're living our lives in front of our children. And the first place that we need to go to is, number one, let go of all the bitterness against the parents, the whoever you're co-parenting with. We should be able to co-parent with one another so that we can raise some healthy, emotional children to grow up to be emotionally healthy adults.
Right. I worked, it's no secret, I was a teacher at Maplewood High School, and we had a program for guys, and we actually had about 3 different programs for guys, but this one particular one I was a sponsor for. I was not the facilitator of it, but it was an outside program that would come into the school, and they just had to have a teacher in the room. So I was that teacher. And I remember, for the school is majority Black and Hispanic. And for both cultures, for men to be vulnerable and to let out emotions and stuff, that's just not typical. Not hurt anyway. Anger, right. Yes, no problem. But hurt is not. It's just not something that we typically let out. And I remember this one time, it was a Tuesday, and we had let out for this break session, and the guys that were in this club got to go to it. And I don't remember what the conversation was initially about, but I remember it turned into them talking about their fathers. And everybody in that room started referring to their father as, I won't say the word on air, but it was the B word.
Oh, wow.
And that's what they referred to. And so I let them talk. And I was just like, tell me, basically like what, why? And they started listing off about like I go to these ball games and you can't show up to my ball game, and you can't come, pick me up for this, or, and they had it in their head what they thought fatherhood should be like, based off of television or
Right.
friends,
Mhm.
and their fathers were not in their lives like that. Um, and I remember making a post about it on Facebook, and I remember a lady where she was like, "I can't believe you let those young men cuss." I'm like, "Man, I needed to get this." I said, "They I cuss word over what they're
Over
going
some,
through." I said, "No."
yeah,
I said, "No."
yeah.
I said, "No, no fights happened. No chairs were thrown. No,
Mm.
no blows.
It was a good
It was
day.
a good day. It was a good day." And they were just getting it off their chest. But to see that, then I remember at two different schools, because I've taught at about five or six,
Mhm.
and at two different schools, two different guys said the same thing to me. And they said, "My father is an excellent big brother, but a horrible father."
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Two different guys
Wow.
didn't know each other, probably about 8 years apart. And so,
So what did you get out of that? What was the meaning behind that? That um basically, I guess it's something that my mom used to tell me when my children were younger. Uh your kids have enough friends.
yes,
They need a parent.
yeah,
And we miss it sometimes because we want to be friends with all of our children. But at the same time, they need guidance. They need to be parented. There's a reason why the parent came before the child,
mm-hmm,
and you being their friend can mess a child
mm-hmm,
up too, and not have a balance. So I get that.
yeah,
I get that.
yeah. And they were looking for some. Kids will say that they hate discipline, but if they don't have it, then they'll be mad that you didn't give it to them.
Right. Right.
And so it's a love hate thing with a discipline.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had examples of great fathers. I had
Mm-hmm.
examples of excellent fathers that were there,
Yeah.
that were in the lives of their kids. One that I can think of, he's gone on, but I mean, he was, I mean, as much as he could be
Yeah.
in the life, and he had made a lot of mistakes as a man in his
Mm-hmm.
earlier years. He made a lot of mistakes, but when he decided to get it together,
Mm-hmm.
he for real got it together. And I think that sets an example for your kids as well, because if we're
Yeah.
all going to make mistakes anyway,
Yeah.
if they can see you come back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember another family that I'm thinking of, um, where the dad was headed down a bad path, and he didn't see it that way because he was working
Mm-hmm.
and he was providing and he was married to their mom, and he was doing all the right things. He didn't realize until his wife basically made him go on a men's retreat,
Uh-huh.
um, and he got to
They
the
needed a fine tuning a
yeah,
little bit,
yeah.
right?
And then he realized, and when he came back, his kids, like everything shifted and everything changed.
Mm.
So like, but once again, that was a man that didn't have a father.
Well, I just want to stop for just a moment. I want to remind you guys that we would love to hear from you. You can dial in at 615-893-1450. Perry said, parents today are being forced to be friends because of the fear of true discipline. But I beg to differ about that. I still think that discipline your child is necessary. And I think because the Bible says spare the rod, spoil the child, that's one of those rules I believe that, we're gonna listen to God or we're gonna listen to man. I believe we might have a caller coming through. Let's see. But at the same time, we just want to make sure that we have a balance with our kids. But again, I want to reiterate how important it is for a father, to be in the child's life.
Absolutely. And when you look at the word discipline,
We got a caller on the line.
Okay,
Caller, go ahead. Hey, Pastor Flores, how are you all the way down there in Panama City? Yes, yes. Well, what do you want to add to the fatherhood subject? Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Right. Mm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Well, we got a lot of dysfunctional families going on. And that's what we're here for. We're here to just let everybody know that we all have the authority to live an abundant life, but abundant living means being the right role for the assignments that God has given us. And if you are a father, be a father, even if you have to be a father to someone else's children. Jesus had a stepdaddy.
Hmm.
you know so so being a stepdaddy is not the worst role that you can play, but you need to be the best stepfather that you can be to the children that God have assigned to you. It's a reason why you're in certain children's lives. And even you, Marcus, working in the school system, those are all
A father.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and it's something that transcends race, because I was not even the same color as these kids. But I mean, think about it. If you're hungry, do you deny?
Mm, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Pastor Flores, for calling in. And we really appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to Eden Shores there in Panama City. So if anyone is in need of help, he has an in-house living facility. So it not a rehab, but a life center for males and females. So thank you so very much, Pastor Flores, for calling in.
Thank you. You
Okay.
too. Happy Father's Day.
All right, Crystal is on too. All right, bye bye. Our Crystal and Marie is on today.
Hey.
So we want to say hello to you guys again. If you want to call in, the number is 615-893-1450. And we're talking about fatherhood or the lack thereof. And a lot of times, I'm speaking from a female perspective, a lot of times we go around and we're adults in unhealthy relationships with men because we didn't have a father to teach us the type of man that we should be going after, or we get into a relationship with a man who didn't have an upbringing and they don't know how to love us.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
Okay, so as an adult, I don't know whether this is going to make some women mad or not,
Okay.
but sometimes, sometimes when the bros are sitting around talking, they're talking about what type of female they like. Oh, I like this type. I like that type. I'm not blah blah blah. There is amongst the guys sometimes men who will say, "Get you a woman that does not have any daddy issues,"
Mm, but that's good.
because there is a price to pay. Now, what I'm saying that if you are a lady that has daddy, number one, I'm not saying that you're worthless or anything like that. What I'm saying is that there is a level of hurt that a lot of women that have not had dads go through, that sometimes it's expressed in certain ways and you can tell and you
Mm,
can see, and so that's a man's way of avoiding those types of issues. And I'm bringing that up to say that it does not stop at childhood.
right.
It goes even into adulthood until people have gotten. Likewise, you also see men who don't figure out sometimes until their late 30s, 40s, 50s that manhood was completely different from the story that they made up in their head because they didn't have a dad to teach them. And so I think just the same thing. They would say that there are men that need to be healed as well.
Right.
Okay. There's a little echo in the background.
It still got echo. I apologize for that.
Please turn off your speakers.
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. But daddy issues is very, very real. You
Very
know,
real.
I think that when my daughter was young, I had her father take her on her first date. You know, sometimes the man don't know how to be a man or to be loving. And then the woman don't know how to receive love. And that's, I deal with a lot of domestic violence women, and they go from relationship to relationship. They end up in the same relationship, and it's because of the father or the daddy issues.
Right. One thing I used to always tell my students, I used to write it on the board sometimes. If I could feel the energy in the room and feel when they were having like some daddy issues. And I have some students that have, oh my gosh, gone on to do some amazing and incredible things. And I tell some of them all the time, like, I'm the student now, you're the teacher, because they've done some amazing things. But one of the things that I used to remind them of in high school, and I still remind them of today, is you didn't miss out on having a father as much as your father missed out on having an opportunity to be a part of your life.
That's good.
When you look at what you became and what you are becoming, he missed out on a huge opportunity. And so for any man that had the opportunity to speak into your life, we got to have that. That time can't be brought back. Right. Whether it was a teacher, a coach, a stepfather, an uncle, whatever man got to play a role in your life, he got that opportunity that your father missed out on. Yeah. And I just always, and that's for anybody else, you know, that's listening. If you are a man that's trying to get it together, what can you do? Yeah. Here's what I feel that you can do. I feel that tell your story in its truth, but without excuse. Yeah. Just say, these are the things that I did that I hurt you. And not only do I apologize, but these are the things that I'm trying to work on, and allow them to express how they feel. Yes.
Yeah. Because that's one of the things too. I think that even me, I'm working on right now with my children is learning to listen. You know, I come from an era where children are to be seen and not heard. And so our voices get muted. And so likewise, I don't want my children to be that way. I want to learn how to listen to my child when my child have a problem, because you can't fix what you don't identify. Mm-hmm. And if you're not communicating, then that's why there's so much going on between father and son and mother and daughter, I do believe. Mm-hmm. We're almost getting ready to wrap it up here. But I am so thankful for you guys. And just a reminder, we are here on the TalkBox every Sunday night at 9 p.m. So I'm just so thankful to have Marcus with us. We got a couple of more minutes here and we'll be wrapping it up. But the fatherhood, if you are a father, biologically have created a child, or if God have put children in your life, be the best father that you can be. You go ahead. What do you got to say before we close out?
I just want to say, number one, happy Father's Day to my dad, who is a good dad, and love you. And thank you for being, he's got us biological kids and a whole list.
Yeah, I think my sister is one of your sisters.
Yeah. My older sister. I tell everybody I have an older sister, which just happens to be Sonia's sister.
Yes. So I tell you what, you guys, I'm your girl, Sonia G, here on the TalkBox. I want to tell my son, Devon Crutchfield, happy Father's Day today, and my wonderful husband, Perry Carney, happy Father's Day to you. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week. We'll have Dr. Chatika Miller on. See you.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, listening to the TalkBox side. Yeah, listening to the TalkBox. Let's talk about it.